From epic campaigns to mind-bending tactics, strategy games in 2025 are proving why this genre has stood the test of time. These are the games that punish sloppy clicks, reward genius moves, and maybe even ruin your sleep schedule. From brain-melting tactics to maps that eat hours of your life, this list is packed with strategy greatness. So buckle up, because the next 10 picks might just wreck your free time in the best way. What if I told you that in 2025, one of the deepest strategy games ever made is still alive, kicking, and probably plotting to conquer your weekend? That's Europa Universalis 4. It's not just a game. It's a time machine that drops you into the year 1444 and says, good luck running an empire until 1821. No script, no rails, just history, politics, and chaos waiting to be rewritten. The magic of EU4 is how every system interlocks like gears in a giant, messy clock. Institutions spread across the world, punishing nations that cling to the past. Trade flows through fixed routes, forcing you to fight not just with armies, but with merchants and fleets. And estates demand privileges, draining your crown land unless you play the political chessboard just right. And governing capacity? That's the cruel reality check that reminds you. Sure, you can paint the map your color, but managing it is another war entirely. But what keeps the game so fresh in 2025 is how much it's evolved. Over the last couple years, Paradox dropped massive expansions like Domination, King of Kings, and Winds of Change, revamping mission trees for dozens of nations. Austria, Byzantium, the Aztecs, Venice, you name it. They've got unique paths, mechanics, and power spikes now. And here's the kicker. 4 of the game's most important DLCs, once locked behind paywalls, are now fully included in the base version. If that's not enough, the modding scene is basically infinite content on tap. Want a fantasy world with elves and magic? Go with Anbanar. Want to play from the Roman Empire to the year 9999? Then use Extended Timeline. Want a complete historical overhaul? Mayu and Taxes. This is why the game still pulls tens of thousands of players on Steam every month, years after launch. Sure, it's not flawless. Late-game performance can choke even high-end PCs, and the endless parade of DLC has been a running joke. But with the subscription model and the recent built-in expansions, the barrier to entry has never been lower. And while everyone's eyeing the horizon for Europa Universalis 5, the truth is EU4 has matured into the definitive sandbox for anyone who ever dreamed of rewriting the rise and fall of empires.
We never paid any.
Few strategy games can claim they reshaped the genre and spawned entire new ones. Warcraft 3 did both, and in 2025 it still feels razor sharp. The magic here is how Blizzard took classic base building and added a twist: heroes. Instead of faceless commanders, every faction fields powerful characters who level up, learn skills, and carry items like an RPG. You don't just build armies, you nurture these heroes, creep neutral camps for loot, and time your power spikes. Add to that the upkeep system, which is basically a tax that punishes you for bloated armies. And suddenly even your economy becomes a test of guts and efficiency. And the factions? Totally distinct. Humans lean on control and economy. Orcs hit hard with aggressive micro, undead dominate late game with dark spells and statues, and night elves thrive on mobility and map control. The single-player campaigns are just as iconic. Across Reign of Chaos and the Frozen Throne, you get sprawling stories where Arthas falls into darkness, Illidan makes his infamous choices, and the world literally changes forever. And missions aren't just build base and crush enemies. They throw RPG-style dungeon crawls, stealth maps, even hero-only adventures into the mix. It still stands as one of the best campaign packages in strategy history. But Warcraft 3's legacy doesn't stop there. Its world editor gave us tower defense maps, custom RPGs, and most famously, Defense of the Ancients, the seed of the entire MOBA scene. Basically, half of modern competitive gaming traces back to this one RTS, not bad for a game from 2002. Now yes, the reforged remaster in 2020 was rough. Blizzard overpromised, cut features, and the community wasn't shy about torching it. But here's the twist. In 2024 and 2025, patches have quietly turned it into a solid package again. You've got classic HD mode, ladder play, hotkey customization, campaign fixes, and even a spot on PC Game Pass. And if you want peak competition, the W3 Champions community client is thriving with ranked play and tournaments. So whether you're in it for the legendary campaigns, the razor-sharp multiplayer, or the wild world of mods, Warcraft 3 isn't just a trip down memory lane, it's a strategy heavyweight that still deserves a slot in your library today.
I am sworn to avenge.
We must act.
Standing guard.
My blades thirst. Command me. Revenge.
Make it fast.
The time has
What makes a strategy game feel truly alive? For Company of Heroes 2, the answer is simple. Every bullet, every shell, every patch of snow can decide a match. This isn't just about building bases and spamming tanks. It's about grit, sightlines, and making one bold move that flips the entire battlefield. One of the game's biggest hooks is true sight. Units only see what's actually in front of them. Hide behind a wall, smoke the street, or sneak through trees. And you're not just stalling, you're rewriting the flow of combat. Add in cold tech maps where blizzards freeze soldiers, lakes crack under tank treads, and deep snow slows retreats. And suddenly, the environment itself feels like a weapon. Okay, maybe not so fun when a blizzard wipes your squad, but hey, that's war. The core loop is all about positioning and resource control. Cover isn't optional, suppression matters, and tanks have weak spots that beg to be flanked. And when you lose, it's rarely because the game cheated you, it's because you overextended, forgot fuel control, or underestimated that sneaky anti-tank gun. Multiplayer matches, especially in 2 vs 2 and 4 vs 4, are a roller coaster of clutch holds and desperate comebacks. With a community that's still alive in 2025, thousands log in daily, keeping matchmaking quick and competitive. But if you're more into single-player, skip the divisive Soviet campaign and head straight to Ardennes Assault. It's a dynamic branching campaign where US companies carry over from mission to mission, taking losses that stick. It feels more like a tactical board game layered on top of classic RTS battles. Then there's Theater of War, a set of solo and co-op missions perfect for experimenting without the ranked ladder pressure. Expansions like the Western Front armies and the British forces also reshape the multiplayer meta, adding fresh factions that keep the game feeling modern. And if you want even more, mods like Wickinger and all units expand the sandbox endlessly. So, is Company of Heroes 2 still worth it in 2025? Absolutely. It's not flawless, the base campaign is rough, and cold tech storms were so divisive they got cut from matchmaking. But when it clicks, few RTS games deliver this level of tension and cinematic grit.
Look out the watchtower!
Steady up, Doug. I got orders. Reinforce that fighting position with some firepower.
Get your asses over there!
What if Hogwarts had permadeath? That's basically the setup in Fire Emblem 3 Houses. You're not just teaching magic kids how to swing swords, you're running a military academy where your lesson plans decide who becomes a hero and who ends up fertilizer on the battlefield. At its core, yeah, it's still grid-based combat. Move your units, plan positions, punish mistakes. But 3 Houses flips the formula with some clever twists. Forget the old rock-paper-scissors weapon triangle. Here, it's all about combat arts, battalions, and gambits, which are special squad-based attacks that can literally rattle an enemy army and turn the tide of a fight. Add the Divine Pulse, which lets you rewind a few turns when things go horribly wrong. And suddenly the tension isn't gone. It's sharper, because you know this is your last chance to fix it. And then there's Life Between Battles. The monastery isn't just a hub. It's the spine of the whole experience. You manage a calendar, train your students, hold classes, even fish if you're into that kind of thing. Sounds slow? Maybe. But here's the trick. Everything you do off the battlefield shapes what happens on it. Train a knight in magic, flip a mage into a sword fighter, it's total freedom. And it's dangerously addictive. The story? Brutal. You pick one of 3 houses, each with its own leader, worldview, and eventual path to war. The first half feels like classic school drama. The second half? Let's just say graduation comes with blood on the diploma. And when the credits roll, you'll immediately want to start over just to see how the other sides play out. Now, it's not flawless. The graphics push the Switch about as far as a potato can be pushed, and some maps recycle more than they should. But the characters, voice acting, and the layered systems, they overshadow those rough edges. And if you want a real challenge, the maddening difficulty and the Cindered Shadows DLC bring exactly that. So why play it in 2025? Because nothing else fuses strategy, storytelling, and player choice quite like this.
I will aid you. It's our chance to prevail.
Imagine if Civilization decided to hit the gym, bulk up, and then borrow XCOM's tactical brain. That's basically Age of Wonders Planetfall, a sci-fi 4X that doesn't waste time and drags you straight into the action. Instead of spending 20 turns staring at a farm upgrade, here you're dropping armies, customizing mechs, and blasting aliens with orbital lasers before you even blink. The real star of Planetfall is its combat. Every unit runs on a 3-action point system, so you're not just shuffling pieces, you're juggling movement, attacks, and abilities with room for creativity. Cover, line of sight, stagger mechanics, even grazing shots that deal half damage when you miss. All of that makes firefights feel sharp and unpredictable. Positioning isn't just a detail, it's survival. Add in the rule where armies next to the fight can reinforce, and suddenly the world map and the tactical layer are tied together in a way most 4X games dream about. Then there's the customization. Every squad can be modded like you're building your own mini-army of Frankensteins. Want laser-equipped dinosaurs? Done. Psychic bugs with armor-piercing claws? Also done. On top of that, each faction picks a secret tech, which is basically a bonus science path that drops unique units and weapons into your lineup. Combine that with hero leaders who level up like RPG characters, and the amount of build crafting is insane. But what really keeps the pace going, though, are the quests and side objectives. Instead of just waiting for your next research tier, you're constantly pulled into faction drama, mysterious anomalies, and storyline missions that tie into the larger lore of the Fallen Star Union. And yes, while the sci-fi setting can feel a little generic at first glance, the campaign actually gives personality to its factions, from Bughive Kirko to mech-riding Oathbound Knights added later in expansions. However, the UI throws a lot of terms at you, and the colony management doesn't have quite the same depth as the tactical battles. But once you push past the learning curve, Planetfall opens up into one of the most aggressive, combat-driven 4X experiences out there. And in 2025, with all expansions bundled in, it's absolutely worth diving in. Hey guys, do me a solid and smash the hype button, then drop a comment with your pick for the next part of this series. I read and reply to all of them. They both feed the almighty algorithm and push this channel forward, and honestly, it's hands down the best way you can help the channel grow. And of course, if you're enjoying the video, make sure to subscribe and hit the like button so you won't miss the next one.
Until his freedom's been taken away.
What if I told you that one of the best strategy games you can play in 2025 is completely free, and still more competitive than half the stuff coming out today? Yeah, I'm talking about StarCraft 2, the RTS that refuses to die. This is a game that dropped back in 2010, got 3 expansions, and somehow still feels sharp in 2025. Blizzard made the entire Wings of Liberty campaign free, plus co-op with Raynor, Kerrigan, and Artanis. That means you can jump in right now, no excuses, and experience some of the best designed missions in the genre. We're talking maps where lava floods the terrain every few minutes, night and day cycles that change how you fight, and giant set pieces that look like they belong in a blockbuster movie, not an RTS. But the real meat? The multiplayer. Every match is a mind game of scouting, countering, and trying not to panic when 40 Zerglings crash into your base at minute 5. And just when you think you've got it under control, the economy system in Legacy of the Void reminds you that no, You don't have time to sip your coffee mid-match. For players who don't want that sweat-soaked ladder grind, the co-op mode is an absolute gem. You pick a commander with unique abilities. Zagara floods the map with banlings, Kerrigan wipes armies with her immobilization wave, while Artanis warps in death squads from orbit. And you team up for missions that actually change week to week with crazy mutations. It's accessible, fun, and honestly one of the best ways to ease into the chaos. And then there's the arcade. Thousands of custom maps, from tower defense to tug-of-war classics, like Direct Strike, all free. It's basically a game inside the game, and it's part of why SC2 never really went away. Even now, in 2025, the community is alive, tournaments are still firing, Serral literally just took another world title, and Blizzard is still pushing balance patches with help from the players themselves. So if you're looking for a strategy game this year that mixes cinematic campaigns, insane competitive depth, and endless replayability, you don't need to wait for the next big RTS. StarCraft 2 is already here.
Systems go. Cyclone ready for action.
Fine. By the numbers, boys. Roger that.
Mineral field completed.
Who wants some? This better be good.
Choose landing site.
What if I told you there's an RTS where go big or go home literally means hurling a moon at your enemy? That's Planetary Annihilation Titans. A game that takes the spirit of Total Annihilation and Supreme Commander and blows it up to interplanetary proportions. You're not just managing bases on one map, you're commanding armies across entire solar systems, juggling orbital invasions, nuclear strikes, and yes, the occasional oops, I detonated the whole planet moment. The Titans edition is the ultimate version. It folds in the base game and drops 5 colossal super units onto the battlefield. These aren't just bigger tanks, they're game changers. The Atlas bot smashes armies like they're ants. The Helios Orbital Titan doubles as a mobile teleporter for surprise invasions, and the Ragnarok structure? Finish building it and the planet doesn't just fall, it explodes. It's pure RTS spectacle. But here's the catch. That scale comes with a learning curve sharp enough to poke an eye out. The game runs on a streaming economy, and metal and energy drain continuously, so efficiency is everything. And when you're commanding on multiple planets, you'll live inside the strategic zoom and rely on picture-in-picture windows to not lose your mind. That said, this game has aged like a good craft beer. The community is smaller, sure, but fiercely active. Mods fill in the gaps. Queller AI makes single-player skirmishes smarter and way more fun, while the Legion expansion adds an entire second faction. Pair that with the Galactic War roguelite campaign, and you've got more than enough content even if you never touch multiplayer. Multiplayer itself is still alive, with ranked 1 versus 1s and team matches up to 10 players, plus a cool shared army mode where you and a buddy literally control the same force. Just be ready to argue over who gets to launch the nukes first. Yes, the game can be overwhelming. Reading icon swarms across multiple planets isn't everyone's idea of fun. But if you've ever dreamed of running a war on the scale of a solar system, no other RTS really compares.
Insufficient metal. Insufficient energy.
You think hex-based wargames are slow, old, and boring? Well, Panzer Corps 2 will happily prove you wrong, one encircled battalion at a time. At its core, you're managing your core army. Every unit you take into battle, whether it's infantry, artillery, or that shiny tiger tank, gains experience, levels up, and sticks with you through the whole campaign, and that permanence adds weight to every decision. Do you risk your elite squad in a risky assault, or play it safe and watch the clock tick down on your objectives? And objectives matter. The campaign branches depending on how well you do, letting you change history or rewrite it completely. But what really sets Panzer Corps 2 apart are its mechanics. Surround an enemy and cut their supply lines and they crumble fast. Overrun a weak unit and your tanks keep rolling like they're on caffeine. Weather shifts, spotting ranges, captured equipment, even hero units with unique perks. Every system layers on top of another, creating this tactical puzzle where one mistake can snowball into disaster. The best part? There's an undo button, so when you fat finger your artillery into the middle of a swamp, it won't ruin your entire week. Content-wise, it's ridiculous. Over 60 campaign scenarios, random map generator, hot seat, online multiplayer, co-op, Steam Workshop, and a full scenario editor. It's the kind of game that can swallow hundreds of hours if you let it, and the developers keep feeding it. 2025 alone saw the release of Cyrenaica, Ghost Division, and Westwall, each adding new historical slices with brutal difficulty spikes. Now, it's not flawless. Some players complain about the sheer number of DLCs, which you'll either buy into the ecosystem or feel like you're being nickel and dimed. The base game also leans on a conservative formula. If you were expecting total war-style dynamism, you'll think this is chess with tanks. But for fans of precision, planning, and replay value, it's hard to beat.
Sieben Wochen sind vergangen, seit wir Enroth verlassen haben.
Imagine this. You boot up a game from 1999 and suddenly, it eats more of your free time than any modern release on Steam. That's Heroes of Might and Magic 3. The definition of just one more turn before you realize it's 3 a.m. and your coffee's gone cold. At its core, Heroes 3 is a turn-based strategy masterpiece. You recruit heroes, build up towns, and send armies across massive adventure maps filled with treasures, mines, and monsters. Every decision matters. Do you expand fast to secure resources, or play it safe and turtle in your castle? Spoiler. Either way, you're going to get wrecked if your enemy picked earth magic and cast mass slow on your entire army. Combat feels simple to learn but never boring. Units fight in stacks, each with unique quirks. Archangels can resurrect, Cavaliers hit harder the further they charge, and Necropolis players? Yeah, they'll just turn half the battlefield into skeletons and cackle while you uninstall. The beauty here is how preparation often decides the battle. The army you built, the spells you researched, the artifacts you collected, everything comes together in a way that makes every fight feel earned. And then there's the atmosphere. The soundtrack by Paul Romero and Rob King is legendary, and each town theme feels like it was written to stay in your head forever. Pair that with sprawling campaigns that weave political intrigue and epic wars, and you've got one of the richest fantasy strategy packages ever made. So why is it still worth playing in 2025? Because the community never let it die. Grab the complete edition on PC, slap on the free HD mod for crisp visuals and quality of life tweaks, and dive into Horn of the Abyss, a fan expansion so polished it feels official. You get new towns, rebalanced multiplayer, simultaneous turns online, and a random map generator that guarantees infinite replay. Meanwhile, Ubisoft's official HD edition is missing the expansions and the RMG. Basically the diet version no one asked for. Who needs dragons or demons when you've got winter? In Northgard, the cold hits harder than any raid, and your job is to keep your starving villagers alive long enough to call it a victory. At first glance, it looks like a classic RTS, build, expand, fight. But the trick is in the territory system. Every new region you claim costs resources, so you can't just spam structures until you're a Norse SimCity. You need to pick carefully. Do you grab the forest for wood, or risk the wolf den because it guards fertile land? Expansion is always a gamble, and the bill for overextending comes due in winter. And, oh boy, winter. Your food drains, your firewood vanishes, and if you miscalculated, your proud warriors turn into popsicles. It's not about micromanaging battles. It's about shuffling villagers between jobs on the fly, keeping the economy alive while still building momentum. The tension of, can I survive this season, makes even peaceful runs feel like a knife fight in the dark. Each clan also flips the formula. One thrives on trade, another on brute force, and another on lore and wisdom. New DLC clans keep dropping, Yes, they cost extra, and yes, the community grumbles about it, but each one genuinely shifts the meta. In 2025, the roster is massive, and picking the right clan almost feels like choosing your playstyle in a fighting game. Content-wise, the devs haven't let this game rot. Free updates brought things like the Conquest mode, with branching challenges and co-op runs that can last you 100 hours, plus major overhauls to the military system and UI. There's even a map editor and mod support for the creative types. The campaign? Kinda forgettable. But let's be real, no one's here for Shakespeare, this is about the sandbox survival strategy loop. Multiplayer is still alive, though the ranked scene leans on 3 versus 3s these days. And the best part? It runs on pretty much everything. PC, consoles, even Switch and mobile. Perfect if you want to stress over food supplies on the bus ride home. So is Northgard still worth it in 2025? Absolutely. It's one of those rare strategy games where the fight against nature feels just as brutal and just as rewarding as the fight against your opponents. And if you've ever rage quit because winter wiped you out, don't worry, you're not alone. If you're still with me, the link to the playlist is popping up in the card right now. And before you go, don't forget to smash the hype button, leave a comment, and hit sub so you don't miss what's next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the comments section.